All right, guys, we are back. We are back at it. We are continuing our lecture on primary health. I'll wait on a few of you to come in, and then we're gonna start back. Like a lot of you left the building. All right, well, left the chat, or left the live. All right, so let's go, guys. We continuing. Um, so some barriers to primary health care. We just spoke about social determinants of health, and obviously it's going to feed into what we can call barriers to access or to obtain primary health care. Income. You don't work for any money, your access to healthcare would be even less. Even primary healthcare. You can't go to the pharmacy, you can't go to a private doctor. Social cohesion. If there is unrest in a society, that's a barrier to good healthcare. Unrest, discrimination. If those things aren't there, then you're not going to have good healthcare because healthcare providers come from all backgrounds, all races, all countries. Food availability, something as simple as food availability, and the United Nations would have had a challenge of reducing poverty for years in many countries of the world, and it still exists right here in your own Trinidad and Tobago. There are lots of there are, I shouldn't say lots. There are still people who do not know what they are going to eat or feed their families tomorrow. It's not a large population, but it is a population nonetheless. Gender imbalances. I know the world several decades ago was more male dominated. Correcting that to have a gender balance should not lead to more female dominated workforce. Balanced gender. Living and employment where you live. And if anyone remember our lecture on Monday? And because we talk about living, I spoke about blank hierarchy of needs. What's the blank? I spoke about everyone has a blank. You have to fill in that blank hierarchy of needs. Anyone tell me? What's the hierarchy? Thank you very much, Biana. Whoop! 6. Again. Very good. Very good. Maslow's hierarchy of needs speaks about basic things: food, shelter, living conditions. Now, another barrier is employment, your ability to get employment, your ability to find employment somewhere so that you can earn income. The long ago, centuries ago, you may not have to work for someone or work for a company. You can exchange your yam for some rice. You can exchange your jewels for clothes. We don't have that now. Everybody needs to work to get money to pay for their family's health and to pay for their family's nutrition. Working conditions, the type of working conditions that you have to experience. And even before the migrants came into our country, working conditions in some types of industries were horrible, were very bad, and still is. These things create real barriers to adopting healthy behaviors. So the challenges and the limitations. The economic challenge. Debt. For any government, foreign and local debt is a real economic challenge for them to judiciously provide services. Now, there's a opposite to that where realistic scenario to this. Yes, you may have foreign debt. Yes, you may have local debt. But tell me, someone on the group, please tell me what else can be a drain on your economy's ability or your economic ability as a government to provide services for your country. Tell me, can someone tell me, other than real local debt to the banks the government has, other than real foreign debt the government has to China, to the International Monetary Fund, to World Bank, tell me what within your own government allows you to have a real economic barrier and remove funding available to spend on the type of needs that you need to spend on. Tell me. I'm waiting on someone to give me what they think is a barrier to the economic. Legal battles, Vasudeva, yes. Legal battles when the state has to pay out persons who sue them. Yes, yes, that takes away money. But there is another thing. There is something else that takes away a whole lot more money than legal battles and lawsuits. Waiting for more answers. Waiting for more answers from you guys. So tell me, Darian, you was there earlier. Let me see. Biana, Tiffin, very good. Biana, very good. I hope all are taking note of what Biana doing there. Biana is on top of her game. Tiffin, corruption, 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 depreciation of value. Yes, yes, Precious actually is that's a very intelligent answer as well. Yes, if our dollar depreciates, its ability to buy things is much. It will be affected. Will be less. So both of you are very correct. Yes, Vasudeva, you're correct as well. But corruption, it is a real it is a real parasite of a society. It is a real parasite of a government because when corrupt activities take place, it takes away money that ought to be going into your goods and services and goes into the pocket of a few under the guise of employment and under the guise of, yeah, well, we have a company and we employ so much people. So corruption, inflation, Matthew said inflation. Yes, Matthew. Inflation and depreciation of your dollar, very similar. Yes. Those things do affect your ability to buy and pay for services that your country needs. But most importantly, Biana, you're on point. Tiffin, corruption. All right, that is a real hindrance in your 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 governance, your government's economic ability to provide services. Continuing increase cost to treat diseases. That's a real limitation. Let's just say it costs $5 to treat a certain condition on a monthly basis. And for some reason, it was found that this $5 drug or this $5 treatment has side effects that outweigh the benefits. They recall it. And now we're going to have more expensive options to treat the disease. And can someone tell me there was a recent recall of a drug? I say recent meaning last year. Um, and there was a recall on the drug, which at the cheapest could have been sold for 50 cents. And now people have no other choice but to use another drug that for the cheapest would be about $1. So that's double the price that you would have to pay to treat a particular disease. Can anyone tell me what this drug is or what illness we're speaking about? I think it starts with R. R. Vasudeva, R what? R. Firaz, you're on point. Firaz, you're on point. That's right. Zantac. Ranitidine. I recall that initially started with, yes, ranitidine. So I'll give you the story. A recall was initially done for Zantac. And then, that's the R. Yes, Vasudev, I think it starts with R and you couldn't remember ranitidine. All right. So it started was the Martin Schreckle guy as well. You'll tell Matthew will tell me, give me some more information about that. So it was initially the recall was for Zantac, and the recall then moved from Zantac brand to ranitidine. Sorry, the recall were for generics of Zantac, particular generics of Zantac. So Zantac brand was still okay. And then further testing revealed that the molecule ranitidine, or whoever was the manufacturer of the molecule ranitidine, their processes changed, and thereby there was a higher than acceptable level of NDMA, which is a nitrosamine, which was considered to be unacceptable because of its relationship with cancer. Right? So Matthew is saying there was a guy, Martin Shrekley, as well. He had a pharmaceutical brand that was a like, yes, I know who you're talking about. I think this was a South African businessman who bought a company that was the sole company that was providing a particular drug, and he decided to put it at a price based on market, I guess, based on his research. I know there was a lot of international uproar about it. But I want you to understand and be balanced both ways, because as a business, yes, you have a responsibility for profits and for revenues, and you have to be shrewd as a businessman, as you have to be smart as a manager, because you are responsible for a group of people you're employed for, but you also have a moral obligation to ensure that your prices are fair and that it meets the economic status of the persons who require the medication. And this is where sometimes governments come in and fund certain medications for people because they simply can't afford it. Okay, so yes, thank you, Matthew, for that example. You all could do some research on it. Have to be reasonable as well. Yes, right. You must be reasonable as well. Now, bear in mind, we may not know the backstory of some of your more common prominent drug agents: Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, Sanofi, Servier, Merck. We don't know. What's the background, how they go about looking at getting a price on a product. What we do know is that yes, monies are invested in research, monies are invested in development, but they also would have to look at the market impact of the drug and how well it's going to be utilized and how much money they're going to be and how quick they're going to gain gain on all the expenses spent on the drug, and when they can start actually realizing profits. So all of those things are considered. Don't just look at Martin's case alone. You shouldn't be surprised if some of the more larger, well-known companies do this type of thing as well. All right. A prime example would be TSTT. TSTT, when they had the monopoly, they put it on us. They whatever price they decided to charge, that's what they had to charge. Yes, there was some government regulation, but they were the only provider. So thank you all for your inputs there, Matthew and Darian. Firaz and Vasudeva. Good. So the costing to treat a disease, yes, that's a challenge. Corruption is a challenge. Real foreign and local debt is a challenge. Revenue shortfall. Revenue shortfall. Tell me what's an example of revenue shortfall for us right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Precious, give us. If Celine is there, or Biana can hit them again. Give us the answer. What's an example of the revenue shortfall in our country and how it, I'll wait. I'll look out for the answer just now. Political will. Big. We spoke about this in the very first class. Political will, management will, the will to shift spending priority to invest in a wider range of increasingly sophisticated technology to improve detection and management of chronic diseases. Are we willing to shift spending? Do we have the commitment? Do we have the commitment to do this? Let me see if I get some answers here. Oil and gas, girls, you all on point. You all are on point. Decrease in oil and gas prices, yes, and we have had sustained reductions in revenue from oil and gas. China isn't manufacturing as much. The US has slowed down. The US was one of our biggest buyers. Oil and gas oil and gas is actually 40 or 50% of our budget. Without oil and gas revenues, we will be in trouble. That's why we have something called the Heritage and Stabilization Fund that the government tapped into to help us through coronavirus. But it's there. We have that fund to be here for us in times like these. Because if we rely heavily on one commodity, and that commodity is oil and gas. If we rely heavily on it, and they're both related, oil and gas, they're both related. We rely heavily on it, we're going to have a revenue shortfall. Thank you, girls. Very good. So we want to be, it's a real challenge to convince the authorities, the powers that be, that we need to shift spending and to invest in more sophisticated technology. Believe it or not, you would want to shift, and we have seen it in Trinidad, yes, which is a good thing, but shifting your budgets to law enforcement to get surveillance equipment, shifting resources to ensure that companies actually have safe work environments, that they are decreased deaths from domestic violence. These things all impact health status. Homicide rates. Well, Trinidad and Tobago, our homicide rate isn't what was the reason Karine was closed? I'll tell you that's not Vasudeva. We all have a very high murder rate in Trinidad. It's one of the highest in the world per capita. Jamaica as well. We rank amongst some of the world's horrible places for homicides. Most of it gang related, but still it is a problem because gang related activities can have collateral damage, which is drive-by shootings in Movie Town and Port of Spain. Those things have, so imagine you and your family, you're going to a restaurant or you're going to a movie or you're going to shop in Movie Town, and there's a guy there that is on the receiving end of bullets of a drive-by, and you innocently get shot, your child gets shot. There's some cases right now in the states where we don't even need to go to the states. Right here in Trinidad and Tobago, a guy and his daughter was shot. Both of them, they succumbed to their injuries. The little baby girl she died immediately. These are the type of things. Gun violence, those moving your resources from spending on healthcare and healthcare specific things only to actually spending on other determinants of health, other things that affect your mental status and your physical well-being as well. Okay? Training in crime detection, crime management, community policing. All of these would be necessary as the population grows. We have had an attempt several times to look at community policing, but we still see, I still see it lacking. community policing still gets treated not as important as the regular policing. So let me just take some time here to answer um, Vasudeva's question. What was the reason Karani was closed? Well, Karani was closed for the same reason that Petrotrin was closed. We are going based on what was told to us, and based on other independent persons who would have looked at these organizations. These organizations were in problems because of their management. These organizations were in problems because of their infrastructure, their physical infrastructure that they had to use. These organizations were in problems because of international price of their commodities. At the point in time, the price of sugar was going down. It was actually costing more to produce the sugar than we get for it on the international market. That was before. Now we're seeing, yes, people are moving back to sugar from using artificial sweeteners and using other sweeteners such as high fructose corn syrup. But that was the reason Caroni was closed, because of their price commodity on the international market, their physical infrastructure, and yes, the internal management of the company and its resources left a lot to be desired. Caroni was founded back when we had an oil boom, and we were able to invest in the company and create all of these nice incentives for the employees to have, but the management of it was bad. Similar to ISPAT. ISPAT, yes, similar to ISPAT, and ISPAT was actually bought by Mittal Steel, ISPAT and ISCOT. So they and now I think Mittal has closed. Mittal has closed, and Mittal has closed based on the international price of steel. These guys are real shrewd businessmen. I mean, they have large bank accounts. They can come in and buy billion-dollar companies, and they can close billion-dollar companies easily as well, simply because the cost to operate is far higher than the revenue. And let's go to an example that some of the girls might be familiar with these, the Walmarts and the Macy's and some of those stores in the States. They closed down several of those stores because they're simply not getting the revenue to compensate for the operational costs. Matthew said a pregnant woman who got accidentally shot during police protests recently. Right. All of those things. You're living in a community that is considered a hot spot. You have lots of gang activity. You have lots of police patrols. So it's always a very tense, hostile, volatile situation. All of those things do affect your health status. All right. So I hope I answered your questions well, and we are continuing on. So, so those are the two main challenges. We have some more, but these two are very, very important: economic and political will. Human resource, skilled persons, getting skilled persons to come out here and do the job. Getting skilled persons out here to come out and do this job is at times very difficult. Public policy development and infrastructure. Public policy is sometimes there's no policy, but getting good policy require good people, require experienced people. The infrastructure we speak about is the physical infrastructure, the brick and mortar. Environmental and urbanization, unplanned development, shanty towns, squatting. Some of you and some of us may have lived in squatting communities, and that's okay. But if it's allowed to get out of hand, you can have a real public health nightmare and a real healthcare access nightmare. Access to safe water. This is so true. Simple access to safe drinking water is a real challenge in some communities. Appropriate facilities for sewage and water treatments, reducing the risk of disease. Running water. There's a requirement for food vendors to have running water. simple running water. And look now in today's pandemic, this is a requirement that has been in existence for years, decades. And in today's pandemic, we can clearly see something as simple as running water can help to reduce the transmission of disease. Fun fact, it has been proven in a study, I have to find this study to show it to you all, that washing hands properly with water without soap can actually can do 75 to 85% of the job. So you might think you need soap to wash your hands properly. If you don't have soap and you have good running water, you can do majority of the work with it. So running water, all right. Existing roads, housing, all of these things are all of these things have been proven to be inadequate to meet the growing needs of an urban population. So these are some serious challenges. Culture and lifestyle, fast food, dessert chains, alcohol use. And in Trinidad, we like to speak about limes. We like to have lots of limes. When was the last time you as students have a lime? Students always looking for reasons to de-stress. The patient must play a critical role in self-monitoring, and we're going to do that next lecture next week about self-management and self-monitoring. Changes in family structure and values. And we're hearing a lot of, of talk in the US right now about the change in the family structure from being nuclear to being all over. Values, attitudes have resulted in the promotion and glorification of lawlessness. Change in your family structure and your family values is now glorifying lawlessness. These things are real challenges and limitations to getting access to good primary health care. I would take this opportunity to appeal to all of you. Please do not glorify lawlessness. Lawlessness, if allowed to fester, will become a problem for you one day. Laws were made to protect the good in society. The final point here is early sexual initiation, unprotected intercourse, and the associated risks with teenage pregnancy and HIV. These are real issues that affect mortality in the Caribbean. I mean, I'm sure all of you may have seen videos. Now that the internet and cell phone cameras are widely available, we are now seeing it. It may have been existing before, but these things are real problems. A young person at the age of 12, at the age of 13, 14, even 15, you do not know enough about life to be engaging in adult behavior. And if you are engaging in adult behavior, you better get yourself prepared for adult consequences. I know these things are considered taboo topics in the Caribbean especially, but these things do pose a real risk and a real challenge to getting primary healthcare done. There's a saying that some people say, you play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. All right? So that's the lecture for primary healthcare. So today we did primary healthcare, and we also did human resource issues in public health. I invite you all to to send any questions to me. Questions, queries, discussion. About the literature review, yeah. What about it, Leandra? Let me see what the question. Let me see what the literature review was. Literature review. All right, so I'm seeing here. Please write 500 words on the impact of COVID-19 on the Caribbean public health system. Yeah, tell me what do you want to know about the about that? I would think it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy for you all to do. You could do your research. One thing for sure is that the Caribbean, we have not been overwhelmed. Our healthcare system have not been overwhelmed. Are we supposed to find articles on our own? I think so because, well, I can confirm that for you, but because it's a lit review, okay, I can confirm that for you. But I think what Dr. Marges really wants is a small essay, a small paragraph on. Yes, Biana, I will send this PowerPoint to you all. I usually send it to Dr. Maraj, and I am assuming he would send it to you all because I don't have all of your email addresses, right? So I will send it to him right after this lecture, and hopefully you all will get it today. Leandra, yes. I think what he wants is just a discussion on how COVID-19 has affected our public health system. Some key points. Our health system in different countries. Um, I'll get to your Vasudeva. You all haven't? Well, how about can someone send me their email address here, and I can send it to you. I can send it the someone who is in all three classes, because I believe Monday I had a lecture that I emailed yesterday and today. So someone send me your email address, and I'll send it to you, and you could send it to the rest of your classmates. Um, back to Leandra. So it's really, as I said, our healthcare system, we have not been overwhelmed. However, we have spent a considerable amount in preparing. If you drive around by the health centers, the different health centers, you would see tents outside. You would see that they would have invested significantly in infrastructure um, to mitigate the risk. So, although we may not have been overwhelmed in terms of ICU beds, in terms of persons coming to get assistance, we have invested heavily, and we have diverted monies heavily to getting our our facilities prepared. So those are two important points I'm sure you would want to see. Um, yes, Biana, I will send anybody who Matthew. Okay, so I'm going to send it to Matthew. So Matthew, I'm assuming you're in all three classes, right? I'm going to send it to you. You please send it to all the students. But you would know who is in Insti and who is in community, right? Um, Vasudeva, in terms of it being 500 words, it's a discussion. It's not you can probably call it an abstract, right? So it doesn't have to have the full works of a research paper. I think what he really wants is a discussion, just to see how you would have done your research and assessed how the public health institutions have been affected by COVID-19. Matthew, we haven't right. So okay, that good. There is a marking. Is there a marking scheme available for the literature review that breaks down? Um, There is a marking scheme available for the literature review that breaks down the structure of the lit review. So I don't know if you have to follow that. Well, the lit review is not graded, so I don't know. It would be a good idea to follow the marking scheme, because it's going to give you practice in how you write papers and how you write academic discussions. So not because it isn't graded mean that you shouldn't follow the format that is acceptable. So please, Matthew, please follow the format. It's not graded for admin as farm admin. I don't think any of the lit reviews were to be graded. Just Cheyenne is asking me. Sorry for messaging here. Okay, I just tuned in, so I'll see about doing that later. Do you have to include text ID? Yes, yes, of course. we would want to know the proper research. Right? Biana was supposed to check admin. Let me hold on. Pharmacy admin. Okay. Oh, by the way, I sent you all some lit review. Similar thing. I don't think it's gonna be graded. This is Biana, right? I'm not seeing here based on what someone sent this on the group, so um I'm not seeing if it's going to be graded or not. Just give me 1 minute there. Right. Well, Dr. Murad said that the literature review was really okay. Well, based on the WhatsApp that was sent with the screenshot of I don't know if it's Blackboard or what. I didn't see if it was going to be graded or not. All right. Matthew, the intro in the intro class we had. Okay, so maybe well you can the class rep send a message on the farm admin group to confirm that with Dr. Maraj if he's going to grade it or not. He hasn't spoken to me about that as well. Matthew, word 50%, he said 15%. All right. Well, please confirm those things with the other students because the other students are asking. Right, right. Just the exams graded. Okay. Well, I know for sure your exams are going to be graded. Your two course assessment exams are going to be graded, and your final exam, of course, going to be graded. Where is the marking scheme? Guys, you all need to answer Leandra. Whoever has this information, he was just breaking it down now. Whoever has this information regarding the marking scheme for the lit review, please share with Leandra. So as I said, even though it may not be marked, it's good for you to follow the recognized scientific format in writing these academic articles. Please. Sarvesh is in the dance. Okay, the market scheme is on my learning. Right, good. Okay, guys. So I think this is it for today. If there are no other questions for me, confirming there are no other questions for me, I'll wait for 2 minutes. We did our human resource in healthcare. We did our primary healthcare. Next week we have 2 other lectures to complete, and that's going to be quality improvement and self-management. And when we finish that, we are done. And it will be left for us to do reviews in preparation for your final exam. I believe, if not, I think someone said when the second course assessment is going to be, right? It's going to be on the 3rd? No, on the 5th. It should be in the week of the 5th. And then your final exams are sometime in August. So we are on target. We are on point. And no questions from anyone else about today's lectures before I close off the stream. Confirming, someone just confirm no more questions, please. Right, Sarvesh has sent it on the group. Great. Good. We have an boy. Yes, you all have an entanglement in August. All right, okay. All right, good. So you all have a good evening and see you all next week. Good luck with your exam this evening. Good luck with your exam on Friday. So see you all then. This was the course marking scheme in the outline. Written report. This is so Sarvesh, this is for which course? This is for institutional that you've sent this marketing scheme this marketing scheme here. Institutional, and it's similar for both admin and so based on what I've seen here, coursework 40%, final 60%, right? 2 mid-semester exams, right? And the written report accompanied by 20-minute presentations of 10. So we have a presentation for institutional, individual participation. I'll have to confirm these things. Okay? Because in my last class we didn't do any presentations for institutional. We did a project for community, which was the business plan. That was a presentation done in groups, and we didn't have any presentations for farm admin. So we'll confirm these things if the structure is changed up a little bit. So we'll have to probably move quickly on getting these presentations done. And I would like to see presentations from you guys. Great. All right. So good. If you have no other questions, issues, we will close off for today, and I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much. Just the exams, fine. Just the exams. That would be up to your course coordinator, so I'll confirm those. All right. All right. So guys, have a good evening. Thanks for facilitating this evening class, and seeing that it's easy to make these switches, whether be it morning or evening. If ever I have an issue again, I will let you all know. So have a great evening. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your week.